Hi, my name is Mandy Buchanan, and I'm the owner of the Go Deeper Bible Studies blog. And last week we started a series on how the stars tell us the gospel. How before they had the Bible, natural things like the stars in the heavens used to tell people about God and how they did that. And so today, specifically, we are going to have a look at how did the wise men know to follow that star? Can you believe that Christmas is just around the corner? And have you ever wondered why the wise men in the Bible in Matthew 2 knew to follow that specific star to help them find Jesus? Well, that's what we're going to have a look at in today's episode. E.W. Bullinger, in his book, The Witness and the Stars, says there was a traditional prophecy well known in the East, carefully preserved and handed down, that a new star would appear in this sign, that's the sign of Virgo, or the decan of Coma in the constellation of Virgo, would appear in this sign when he whom it foretold should be born. And Thomas Hyde, an Orientalist, tells us about Zoroaster. And Zoroaster told the Persians that a virgin should bring forth a son, and that when he should be born, a star should appear and should shine and be conspicuous in the midst of the figure of the virgin. So in other words, the sign of Virgo. It is then said he commanded his disciples, the Magi. So those are the Magi, the same people who we read in Matthew came to visit Jesus when he was born. When they should see the star, that they should go forth where it directed them, and offer gifts to him that should be born. So here we see that Zoroaster, many years before Christ, had actually prophesied and said that when Christ was born, that a new star would appear in Virgo, and that his disciples, Zoroaster's disciples at that stage, must follow that star and bring gifts to the one who was represented by that star. And then in Matthew, we see that it says, after Jesus was born in Bethlehem in Judea, during the time of King Herod, Magi from the east came to Jerusalem and asked, "Where is the one who has been born King of the Jews? We saw his star when it rose and have come to worship him." So these disciples, or these Magi in the book of Matthew, were following what Zoroaster had commanded of them. And the reason that they did it was because obviously a new star had appeared in the constellation of Virgo, and they'd noticed this new star because they used to watch the stars. To see how they actually found Christ by following that star, we go back to E.W. Bullinger's Witness and the Stars. And he said this new star would show the latitude, passing at that time immediately overhead at midnight, every 24 hours, while the prophecy would give the longitude as the land of Jacob. Having these two factors, it would be only a matter of observation, and easy for the Magi to find the place where it would be vertical, and thus to locate the very spot of the birth of him of whom it was the sign, for they emphatically called it his star. So here it shows us that it basically gave them the latitude and the longitude, and that they just needed to follow that, and that they would find the Christ. And how do we know that the constellation of Virgo refers to Christ? Well, there's an ancient translation in the British Museum of an astronomer from the 8th century called Mazzaroth. And in his work, he says there arises in the first decan, as the Persians, Chaldeans, and Egyptians, and the two Hermes and Asclepius teach, a young woman whose Persian name denotes a pure virgin sitting on a throne, nourishing an infant boy. The boy, I say, having a Hebrew name, by some nations called Ehesu, with his significance Iezer, which in Greek is called Christos. So here we see he's basically saying that the constellation of Virgo shows the Virgin sitting on a throne, nourishing a baby boy whose name is Jesus Christ. And they knew that. And he also goes on to say how this was actually distorted and perverted. And so we lost that. But before that, many nations had known that that was the significance of this. And they knew that Virgo related to Jesus Christ. So in today's session, we've seen how the constellation of Virgo relates to the virgin birth and how the baby has actually been specifically named as Jesus Christ. And at the time that Jesus was born, a new star appeared in the constellation of Virgo, and specifically in the decan of Coma, which means the desired one. And the Persians had been given a prophecy that when that new star appeared, they were to follow it and to take the directions from it to find the Christ, and that they were to go and bring Christ gifts. And then we read how this actually happened in Matthew, where the Magi followed his star and found Jesus and came to worship him. So I trust that you've enjoyed today's session, and next week we'll take a closer look at the constellation of Virgo and some of its star names and other pointers that help us to see the gospel in the constellation of Virgo. So I trust you'll join us then. Thank you and goodbye.